The doctor is in. It's Wednesday. We're here talking today with some awesome friends from Living Beyond Breast Cancer. And I'm so glad you guys are here. And we're going to talk on a topic that we've been talking about a lot this year, young women, young women getting breast cancer. And the statistics are horrific for Black women. So as we always say, Black women under the age of 35 get breast cancer at twice the rate of white women and die at three times the rate. That's outrageous. That's outrageous. Well before they would have had a first round mammogram at age 40, right? If you're a Black woman under the age of 40, there's a 50% chance it could be triple negative breast cancer. Crazy. Black women under 50 have a 50% higher mortality rate than white women, the same age. And we're getting it younger, and we're getting it younger at later stages. Why? Because we haven't had a mammogram. We've never been screened, right? And so it's just a crazy, crazy, crazy situation, and we have to fix it. But I think as collaborators, thank you for being our awesome partner. We all have to do this together. And we so believe in collaborating to build resources and tools for these women who are really, really in need. So I'm going to let you lovelies introduce yourself and let's talk about it, okay? And I'll tell you my history of LBBC after you do that. Go, Teresa.
Awesome. So I'm Teresa P. I'm the Director of Outreach at Living Beyond Breast Cancer. I oversee our national outreach and patient advocacy efforts. And so I oversee our community engagement function and also our support services function. And so we have three main support services. We have our helpline, which is our peer matching program. We have our Living Beyond Breast Cancer Fund, which supports people going through active treatment. And we have our Reading for Reassurance program, which provides books to explain breast cancer to families. And our community engagement team leads our two patient advocacy trainees. One is for individuals diagnosed under 45, and that's our Young Advocate program. And one is for those living with metastatic disease. And so super excited to be here today. My role is all about connection, so super excited to really elevate Amara's lived experience as one of our young advocates. And so I'd love to turn it to you.
Great.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone tuning in. My name is Amara Brown. I am a young advocate with Living Beyond Breast Cancer. As one of my advocacy experiences, I have many right now. I was diagnosed at age 39 with bilateral breast cancer. So I had triple negative in my right breast, which is the lump that I found. And I was 2 months before 2 months before my 40th birthday, so I hadn't gotten a mammogram, but I was planning on it. And then my left breast, I had um a hormone receptor positive breast cancer, which is more common. So I had, if you're familiar with the subtypes, estrogen and progesterone positive, but HER2 negative. So different cancers at the same time,
Isn't
which
that
is really
crazy? Isn't that crazy? Were they
scary.
were they different sizes, Amara?
Yes, the triple negative one was kind of right here on my chest, and I was visiting my partner at the time for Christmas, and I just was in bed in my birthday suit, and I just happened something just told me to touch myself right here, and I just did, and I was like, oh, there's a lump right here, like a big one. So the right one was 2.5. So I was stage two because of that. And then on the left side, the left side, actually, my doctor found it. So it was underneath my underarm, like right here. I had two lumps, but I couldn't feel them because they were like literally underneath my armpit. I'm like, I wasn't really, and I had very large breasts. I had triple D breasts at the time. And so I didn't even know, but luckily I was able to get into a PCP. I didn't have a PCP at the time. So
Wow.
he found it for me and like expedited, and within a month I was able to be diagnosed with stage 2 bilateral breast cancer. But my most of my treatment was pushed. Um, the active treatment was focused on the triple negative because it's a more aggressive and it was growing really quickly. But I am now in like maintenance treatment, you would say, because I have to do tamoxifen for the hormone blockers and stuff. So it's I have a very diverse experience. I've done all the things. I feel like
Great, great, great. Yeah. So they treated you for TNBC though, because
yeah,
that's the more aggressive cancer, right?
correct.
And I guess the treatments sort of work. You're still
Yes,
taking,
it is.
I know. What did you take? What did you take? Did you take Keytruda? Like when was this?
I so last year, actually during this time last year, I was actually still in treatment. So I
Wow.
started treatment. Well, I got diagnosed, I think it was the 29th of January of 2025. I met with my oncologist the next week. And she first question she asked, do I want to have kids? I had not had children at this point in time because
Well,
I
that's a good thing because that is not often
Yeah.
the case. We know
yes.
that.
Yes. So if you are someone who gets diagnosed or know someone, if they want children, I did a fertility. That was the first thing she asked me. Do you want kids? And I said, absolutely. And she's like, okay, you're gonna have to do a fertility preservation. So I
Mhm.
spent, and she was very adamant about doing that before I started chemo. So it's been about, so I started it, I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Valentine's Day that I started my fertility treatment. So that was February 14th. I had my fertility, like an egg retrieval. I think it was the 26th of February, and the 27th of February is when I started chemo. I did
Wow.
12 rounds of Taxol and Carbo in addition to immunotherapy. The immunotherapy would have lasted for it lasted a year, but I did every week for 12 weeks. So for 3 months, I did Taxol and Carbo, and then within those times, I would sometimes do the Keytruda, and then I did 4 rounds of adriamycin cytoxin every 3 weeks. And so I finished chemo July, I think it was July 27th of 2025. Then I had my double mastectomy on August 19th of 2025. Actually, I had it the Tuesday after becoming Living Beyond Breast Cancer Young Advocate. So I went to
Oh, wow.
Philly, met all the people, and it was really great because I kind of like there was a lot of love. So,
Yeah. Support.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of
Mhm.
support.
Support.
And I was having some, like I'm like, I don't want to lose I love my breasts. I had beautiful breasts before. Like they were great. I
Sure.
love them. So that was really challenging. And then I got my tissue expanders the following week because when I was in Philly, I found out that the OR, the operating room, would not let my physical therapy, or sorry, my plastic surgeon do the tissue expanders during the meeting.
Really?
Mm.
I don't know why
Never heard of that. Wow.
my breast surgeon called me. She was actually retiring, so I had two breast surgeons at the same time because she was handing me off to someone else, but she was like, I don't want to leave you. Dr. Teresa Graves is her name. She's she's so wonderful. She calls me and like I'm at the mall like that before, and I'm like with my partner because he came with me. And I'm like, what? And so I start crying because I have this plan. So we had
Yeah,
options.
yeah, yeah.
Basically, I did it on a Tuesday. The following Monday, my plastic surgeon put the tissue expanders in. The mastectomy was so much easier than the tissue expanders. And then my right tissue
Really?
expander got infected. So
Oh, no.
I was hospitalized for 4 days. Um, she take it out. So then I had the right side. I called it a Shar because it was just like my skin kind of just like, mashed in. So there was a lot of I had a lot of I 6 months
Wow.
like that. And so just like the mental part of like kind of I felt like a little bit of a science experiment because it wasn't like finished. Then I had to do a month 16 sessions of radiation on my left breast. Oh, well, I should say this. After my surgery, I was cancer free. I had a full pathological response to chemo and to the surgery. My oncologist said, like, this is literally best case scenario,
That's great.
which is great. I had a positive lymph node on my left side, which is why I had to get the radiation, even though when they took it out, my lymph nodes out, I was fine. They found some isolated tumor cells, which are basically cells that don't grow. So
Right,
we're
right,
doing it more for reoccurrence sake. So I got,
right.
yeah. And then
Just to
I,
cover your bases. Yeah.
yeah. And then I was still doing immunotherapy while all this was happening every 3 weeks. And then after a month after 3 weeks, oh, sorry, a month after radiation, I started tamoxifen. So that's for 5 to 10 years, I'll be doing that. And then I finished immunotherapy February of this year. And I'm in the process of, I got my right tissue expander put in at the end of March. And now I'm in the process of waiting to get a deep flap surgery. So
Okay.
it's been a long journey.
A
I did
long journey. It's a
not
long
Yeah.
journey.
expect to be still waiting for surgery.
I know. But then you can have a D flap and get back to the beautiful boobs that you'll
Yes,
never have to do a mammogram again. How cool is
right.
that? Right, right, right. Wow,
Yes,
wow, wow, wow.
journey.
And you hadn't had a mammogram. You were too young.
I was too young, 2 months before, a little less than 2 months.
And you found it yourself. We find, I forget what the number is, but most young women, I think like 80% find their own tumor. Because guess what? Because they're not getting a mammogram. Hopefully they may not even do a breast exam. It usually happens in the shower,
Yep.
in the bed, having sex, whatever. Somebody finds it, right? So thank God for that. But
Yeah,
we have to do better. We have to do better. We have to do better. So think
absolutely.
about all the things you had to deal with. Thank God that your doctor brought up fertility to begin with. So
Yes.
many women get that first chemo and they're like, oh, I wanted to have a kid. Wait a minute. And now you can't. You're putting yourself at risk, right? So thank God. But I think fertility is one thing. I mean, you have a partner, but just your relationship with your partner, or you're wanting to have a relationship with a partner, right?
Yes.
Your job, your life, your job security, your health insurance, all
Right.
of those things, affect everybody. But they think they're much more of a burden on young women.
Right.
And I think, Teresa, maybe this is something you could answer, as you think about the materials or the resources that Living Beyond Breast Cancer provides. Like, how did you guys come up with them, and like sort of what's your approach to how you provide for support for people?
Yeah, absolutely. And my connection is not ideal, so let me know if you're unable to hear me. But
You're
I think
good.
that one thing we really value is the experience being part of what we do. And so we always look for input from our young advocates or from our community, whether it be through, our needs assessment that we just recently did or through, input on the pieces that we put together. And so, I mean, in our leadership volunteer programs, for example, we're always looking to update the content based on what we're hearing from the community. Same for our resources. I was just going to add one resource that we're actually launching next week that's super exciting and I'd love to share about is we're building a app that will go live for the public next week. Hi, Dr.
Awesome.
Mo.
Hi, this
Hey,
is so
Mo.
exciting.
Yeah,
Hi, I'm running in from clinic because, young women with breast cancer. Well,
right.
couldn't be more timely.
Saving lives. Yep, 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 yep.
Tell us about
Live,
the
right?
app.
Yeah.
Yes. So we've been building an app for some time now, and we've had it piloted with our MBC conference this year and our advocacy group. So Amara's in Flourish already, but next week we're launching it to the public. And so it's called Flourish. It'll be available on the App Store or also on a web version. But we're really trying to create a community space where people can really be their full selves. So you can talk about, side effects of treatment or sex and intimacy, but you can also talk about a book you just read, or in Amara's case, a trip to Rome that you just got back from. And so we're going to be launching it, and we'll have a dedicated space for those that are Black with breast cancer so that, you can have those conversations to really talk about all of the unique experiences. But we just really want it to be kind of a community built by the people who are impacted most. So super excited to share about that. I'll have more to share next week once we go live.
So good, so great. We'll showcase it and put it on our social media. That's so great because, you know, there's never enough resources. I mean, we all are like doing
Right.
different pieces of it. We built a site on our site, our touch site, but there's never enough, and you never know how people are going to come to us. So we want them to all be able to find something. And I know that, and Mar, you can even speak to this, is that, community is so important. As you
It
just
is.
said, as you told your story, that you were with all your buddies right before your mastectomy, and that gave you like confidence and support. But having that community to be able to reach out to, I call it Blessty love, is just like incredible.
It is,
Incredible.
and one of the things you find, Ricky, is that the support groups and the spaces that do exist weren't built for younger people. They weren't designed for the kinds of conversations and the types of needs and the types of wants or desires. I know, like our hospital had
Yeah.
even like an
Right.
auxiliary
Not built for
for
it.
raising money, right? And all the meetings were at like, I don't know, 10 in the morning. And these young women are like, listen, I have to drop my kids off. I got to get to work. How do you expect me to engage with the community when the time is set for senior citizens, right? Like, it's just we have unique needs and need a space to relate to share, to bounce things off of, because the standards of care are continuing to change, and the offerings and what we're offering younger people, there's more and more and more, and you don't know, do I really need this? What about fertility? Do I need to go see a cardio oncologist? How do I navigate these things? My doctor didn't talk to me about that. Should I be asking my doctor about that? And it's like that landscape is just so wide open now. And there's so
Yeah.
much more that we're doing, but we're not always communicating it to our patients, to our survivors, our
Yeah.
drivers.
Right.
Yeah, we have to figure out how are the best ways to get the word out. I know the first support group I went to, and I was old when I had triple negative, everybody was 10 years older than me and had no connection to triple negative breast cancer. And I was like, this is not working, you know what I mean? But we have all these young women who are single moms. I think the data is 70% of Black moms are single moms. And so add breast cancer to that, what do you have? You have life be life, as you say, Mo, life be life. You got to feed the kid, you got to go to work, you got to take care of your responsibilities,
Right.
even while on chemo, doing stuff with the surgery, with all the things. And so to be a support for just how you live your best life while you're going through this is really, really important, to have the support and resources that you need. So we're all trying to give people, just easy things, and even like stuff like talking to your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you talk to
How
your
do
kids?
you talk to your kids about breast cancer? How do you talk to your family? And, also, who else are you taking care of besides yourself?
Right.
Maybe.
Sandwich generation, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I
So,
think one thing that I heard that sounds like a really good collaborative, thing to do, is to suss out what are the top and the most common questions that people have that we could start to answer. And whether it's a survey we need to send out or whether it's something else, like, I think let's sit down and see what are the top concerns, what are the top questions around,
yeah,
and what are the conversations that we need to amplify a little bit more. And I think from this app, you're going to get a good sense of that when you see, are people talking about, balance in their life outside of cancer?
right,
Are they talking more about, treatment and
right.
understanding more about drugs? Are they talking about, nutrition? Like, where do people's interests and thoughts and questions lie?
Right.
I think that too speaks to just the younger demographic as well. As we want something that's adaptable. We want something that can change over time. We don't want something that's, rigid and it has to be this way. It can only be delivered that way. Like you were saying, if something's in person, we also want virtual options. We want morning and we want evening. And so, yeah, I'm super excited to see what's to come. And what do people talk about we've made our best guesses on what spaces will be helpful, but maybe something else pops up. And like, it's great that we'll have the freedom to change it.
Yeah. What are the spaces that you have sort of covered right now on the
Oh
app?
gosh, Ricky, I think there's like 40 of them.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
we have like stage specific spaces. So we have like the high risk spaces we have and talking about, understanding risk, so if you want to have conversations about that. We have spaces for the MBC community. We'll have an early stage, section, but also sections on, wellness and body image and intimacy. Sections for, I think
Love that.
the high level is like I am, and then there's all different categories, right? So if you are in the LGBTQIA plus community, maybe there's a space in there for you to connect with other people too. But we're trying to be all encompassing, but also not so much so that people aren't going to have meaningful conversations in all the spaces. So
Right.
we're interested to see what kind of takes off.
That's great. Yeah, I have to tell you my LBBC story. So I think that I think I was maybe just appointed to the TNBC Foundation board. So I was maybe 2 years out. And and in those days, and I think we're doing it again in the fall, which I'm really excited about. TNBC Foundation sort of had a conference within the LBBC fall conference like years ago. And it was so great because we had sort of TNBC curriculum, but it was within this bigger community. And I think you guys are doing that again, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, so great.
October 3rd.
But Haley Dinnerman, my sweet friend, said you need to go talk at this conference. I'm like, about what? Tell your story. But I had no idea. That was really my first real advocacy talk, real advocacy talk. And it was in front of and it was the first time I had ever been around other TNBCers. So I was in this room with like 80 women with TNBC for the first time, telling my story. And I was, scared to death, but I didn't even really know what my story was. Your story changes as you sort of figure it all out, right, in your head. But I just felt so welcomed by LBBC. And I think what you guys have is such a special place for women just to come and feel at home and feel loved. And I think everybody says that about your conferences and just the environment that you find yourself in, surrounded by love and support. So I think to be able to now put that on an app is going to be
exactly
so great to have this place to go for real love and real information and information you can trust and believe, because patient centric, and it's I'm sure it's been patient informed, right?
Right. Yeah, and it's so funny you say that about sharing your story. And Amara, I'd love for you to, chime in on, because that's part of our advocacy training and just, how that's taken off for you. But just the other day, we were on a check-in call with our helpline volunteers, and there was one of our volunteers who was diagnosed 15 years ago, and she said, I'm so far away from my diagnosis now. I've wondered if I'm still being, helpful on these helpline calls, and I get these peer matches. And, she said, I had this call the other day, and I was wondering and wondering, and then I had a moment where I just connected with the person and just told my story, and I realized how impactful just being able to tell your story is, even if you're removed from your diagnosis. And it's so true.
It is.
It really helps you. It helps you own it a little bit, don't you think, Omar, just telling your story?
Yeah, I feel like I tell my story a lot, but I think it's important I had a friend, a friend now, but when I got diagnosed, one of my college friends, her name's Ashley, she was an oncology nurse, and I called her and told her what happened. And I was like, can you tell everybody else? Because I just was like tired of telling everyone. And then she told me a girl that she knew from high school, or actually I think they grew up together, even earlier than that, had been diagnosed with TNBC literally the year before me, Jessica. So Jessica and I connected, and because seeing someone ahead of you kind of lets you see what's possible. So she had to do what she called chemo pills because she never finished chemo, because her tumor was growing and had to have an emergency surgery. But because I could see oh, it's gonna get better, and she was able to coach me kind of. She's been we've been just friends ever since. And even though my experience is very different because she did, because of my left breast cancer, having two different types in my left side, having to do, tamoxifen and all this, she's still able to give me support that's very different. We're the same age. And so I have done the same thing, giving back to other people, and telling my story has helped others. So, and yes, I've told it on a large scale. I have a Substack that I use, and I write a lot, and I've done a lot of different things. I've done things at LBBC. I've done things with, Tiger Lily Foundation, just various organizations. But I also I went to my oncologist. I did the Pacman cold cap
Mhm.
For my hair, these are braids, of course, but like my hair I didn't lose my hair. Most people who are Black women don't think, or women of color don't think that it worked for them. I think it actually worked better for me because I was a woman of color. And
That's
LBBC
great
was,
to know. We're going to send people to you because not everybody has that experience, dude.
oh
True.
yeah, it was awesome. And I ended up, because of LBBC, I got to meet the man who created it and the team, and I've actually been helping them with like some of the content for Black women. Because
Great.
I was like, my hair texture is not on here, and so I just kind of did my own thing and it worked. But I recently got
Yeah.
connected to a woman at my cancer center who, she's a little older than me, but she's only 50. She just got diagnosed. She wanted to get the cold cap, and like walked her through. I literally showed up at her. I was like, "Do you want me to come to your first chemo session?" She's like, "Yes." I come. I sit,
Wow.
tell her my story.
Wow.
I
Well,
help her with the cap, and her daughter was there the whole time. I'm supported. And like just that, she actually got
wow.
put in the ER recently. I showed up at the ER, like, well, she got
Wow.
to the hospital. But like that is a small way to show community. You don't have to be the person on Instagram doing the reels or I'm writing Substack, but that makes me share my story. But other people are giving me feedback saying it's helping them. And so being able to do something on a large scale like this, or you're sitting there talking to someone at your cancer center who looks like you, because they literally were like, her daughter was like, "Mom, is this woman Black that you're going to be talking to? Because you need a Black woman." And I was like, so the doctor specifically had her talk to me. She's like, "My oncologist is Dr. Graff, Stephanie Graff." So
We
she's,
love her. We love Dr.
I,
Steph.
I love her. She's the best.
We
She's
love
like
her.
one of the best
You're
oncologists.
amazing.
She's
She's
amazing.
amazing. She's amazing.
So she was like, "I don't know why I'm telling this woman about her hair. I'm going to tell Amara to tell her because, I'm not a Black woman." And I was like,
Right,
but see,
right,
like that is not everybody has that, right? I'm
right. No,
very
she's a
Black.
force of nature. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but
That's
I
awesome.
think telling your story not only helps you heal yourself, but it also lets other people kind of see themselves in you. And it does, like I said, it doesn't have to be on this huge, monstrous scale.
Right,
Not everybody's voice is supposed to be on those scales. That's
right.
Mhm.
fine.
I think the other thing is that you find that different aspects of your story resonate with different people, and it becomes
Yeah,
important in ways that you might not know. So you tell your story, but with the things that are most important to you. But as you travel and you talk to different individuals, that Pac-Man might not have been a huge part of your story at first. But then as you find, like, oh my goodness, this is something that, this needs to be told. This is an area that people really don't know about. And I think it helps us to grow in learning and understanding the value of our narrative, because our narratives are not monolithic, right? There's so much diversity in these stories. And when you see breast cancer stories presented, especially for women of color, it's always in a very certain light. And so hearing you say this and talk about these things it's pretty refreshing, but it's
Yeah.
not
it
that
is.
unique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting because because I met Dr. Mo at BattyCon.
Yeah.
And so when you said that, a lot of people at BattyCon were making comments about my hair. And I was like, "Oh, I use the cold cap." And they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that could work for you." And I'm like, "Yeah," or for us. And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yeah." And I was like, "My hair used to be curlier than this. It's like a wavy, it's not as tight as it used to be." But I think the fact that like the people don't even know it can work. I don't think
Oh,
people are
yeah.
trying.
I know. Well, yeah, we've had many conversations about cold cap and
Yeah,
Carlin is our guru for cold cap, but a lot of people don't have success with it or don't have the money for it. I
right.
think we're
Yeah.
blessed to be able to do that. I'm changing traditions, you guys. I had my appendix taken out 3 days ago, so I'm like not
How you
too
feeling?
well. I'm
Yeah.
hanging in here. It hurts. It's not a
Mhm.
fun process.
Good.
We can talk about that in a minute because I
Oh,
totally was discriminated against in the ER, being a Black woman
Well,
in
and it brings up the point of advocacy, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because young women, we barely know many of us, how to use our insurance. We're still learning how to use our voices. We're still learning that our bodies are not in the service to others, right? Like whether it's a relationship or being a mom or whatever. Like I feel like so much of that happens in these years. And then when a thing like cancer comes, it doesn't always feel empowering. You're not always able
right.
to
It doesn't
tap
always
into that
fit.
and say,
Yeah,
listen, I'm too old to
yeah,
take, whatever it
yeah,
is that you're dishing out here. Like
yeah,
I know my body. You're like, oh, okay, well, the doctor said this. I guess that's what it is.
yeah.
And that empowerment will start a lot younger, I think, as a result of the types of conversations that you're having and listening to the stories of what people did and what they learned and how they were able to navigate these things.
Yeah. I also think it's a different thing with young women. And last week we had eight, we talked about our Pathways to Peace program, this mental health program that we put together for young metastatic Black women. And we had done a retreat with 8 women, and they were all like got breast cancer under 40. So they had some unique challenges, but they just the emotional impact of getting breast cancer at a young age and just dealing with all, we talked about all things body image, fertility, all this stuff, but just like in your head, what are you thinking? When you sort of get to that why me thing, why me, why not me, whatever. And then how do you deal with just the coping of it every day? And I think that emotional piece is such a big part of it that's not always addressed. We can tell you what drugs to take or not to take or what the side effects are, but then at the end of the day, when you put your head on that pillow at night, how are you really feeling? When you wake up in the morning and you're in that space before you really open your eyes and you say, like, okay, I'm in my house, I'm in my bed, but I have cancer. How do you deal with all that stuff? And I think that, again, it goes back to community, but I mean, what do you think? How do you think you dealt with that, Amara?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting you say this because this is kind of what my advocacy I had kind of been moving towards. So I started writing my Substack actually before I applied to be a young advocate with LBBC. And I started to realize in the beginning, I was writing about like the process to getting the diagnosis because I'm like, no one told me this was like this. I don't know. I know, like, I feel like we need
Yeah,
to.
how would you know? How would you know?
Yeah.
How would you know?
I know all these things about my vagina, but I don't know nothing about my breasts. Like, I
Right,
don't know
right.
if there's like, like if there's a lump, I
Yeah,
should say
yeah,
something. But
yeah,
like when you get a lump, there's all these things that happen. And I remember someone telling me just because you have a lump, like 70, like a large percentage of them are not even cancerous. But like
right.
I didn't know that going in. So my mom did have breast cancer. She had triple negative, but like she was like the only person in our family had. So it was just kind of like, okay, I didn't think anything of it. But as I start writing and I'm like with LBBC, I keep writing and I'm realizing, oh, I wasn't ready to write about my actual experience until about a year later when I
Yeah,
met a woman who was triple negative. She's only in her 30s, and I was like meeting with her because someone suggested I talk to her. And I was like, oh, I feel like I'm ready to talk about this now. So I start writing about the actual going, like the first week of chemo, doing fertility preservation, but I started realizing I started like healing even more through the process.
yeah,
And I'm realizing I see a gap in like my cancer center is amazing. I told you I have Dr. Graff and Dr. Graves, like they have done so much work at this space. They all work together, and I know that I'm very
yeah, very loved.
privileged to have this. So, but I
Yeah,
think there's this emotional piece that we don't attack during cancer,
we don't.
like
You know?
care. So yeah, so
Um,
there's like this,
no,
and I think like telling your story. So telling your story, I remember saying to myself, I want to write my story. I like to write. I just like to journal. But I remember saying, I don't have kids yet, but I want to be able to tell my story to someone later, even if it's just for me and my family.
Yeah.
And so I started writing and I'm like, oh, I like, I've gotten really good feedback, but I think it's more than just like writing for myself, but trying to recognize that maybe this is a way to help others
yeah.
heal. Like,
Somebody's gonna read this and benefit from it. And you know what?
Absolutely.
You don't even know how what you write is gonna benefit somebody else. Just
well,
provoke a
yeah,
thought, provoke an emotion,
yeah,
provoke something they hadn't thought of yet.
yeah.
Um, you
But
know,
in addition to that is like teaching I was a teacher before all this. I'm realizing having trying to there's a gap with the emotional piece, and I think we need to help people process their whole story in order to get some of those emotions out and reframe them. But I think this is something that's been helping me. And I'm like, how can other people do this? Like, how can I help other people do this? Because I think the nature of writing your story and reflecting on your story and reframing your story to empower, because sometimes in the moment it's hard to do that. But
It's hard.
after
It's
it
hard to
might
separate yourself. Yeah. And I remember thinking sometimes you're sort of sitting and it's almost like you're looking at a TV show that you're in and you're like, wait a minute, that's my life.
right.
So Terlisa is in the comments here. I think, and Terlisa, correct me if I'm wrong, sweetie. I think, she got diagnosed in her early 20s. Her kids were like babies, 2 and 3. But she's over 25 years out. Terlisa, help correct me if I'm wrong.
Right?
When you're young, when you're so young and after receiving a metastatic diagnosis under age 40, your mind is all over the place, especially if you have some children. You mentally find yourself just trying to get through one moment at a time. But that's, I think, a benefit of an app, because in that moment you can say, gosh, I want to preserve my hair, fine coca. Gosh, I want to talk about whatever. I want to talk about fertility. I want to talk about sex. I want to talk about whatever. And so hopefully all of our tools that we're sort of doing collectively will help young women cope in however possible.
Yeah,
One
and I
thing
feel like there's so much power in just like
yeah,
naming it, right? And just
name
putting it
it,
down,
name
whether
it.
it's on
Yeah,
paper
like,
or putting it in a
yeah,
journal.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because who says the word fertility until you
right.
like, like I want to get pregnant, whatever. Oh, so Teresa said she was diagnosed with metastatic at almost 25 years ago. Go, girl. We know she's our fierce force
Amazing.
warrior. You go, girl. We love her.
That story is
We love
told. Well, I tell that story a lot when folks are diagnosed, when they're worried about metastatic disease, and when they see these commercials and they hear the stories, or they look up
yeah,
and they Google. Right now,
yeah,
when you Google, you read a lot more about NBC than ever before.
yeah,
But I
before.
mean, there was so much that was just not positive, not affirming, and it's changed. I will say this: what's changing in the advocacy space has changed the way doctors approach it as well. Right? It's influenced
Yes,
because
yeah,
historically it was like, all right, well, you're thinking about how much longevity can we get out of this treatment, and what are your end of life
yeah,
plans? And like
yeah.
it's this whole sort of you're over here now outside of the mainstream, and doctors
And
just
the reality, yeah.
they didn't know what to do or how to navigate. Do I do a surgery? No, you don't get any reconstruction because. And now we are changing how we practice because of what our patients are asking, because of what they're talking about, because they're living longer, because they're using their voices. And it's pretty empowering and impactful to see.
It really is. And I think, the difference, even I think when I talk to young women who are just diagnosed, they've already gone to AI. Like
Yeah.
when I went to Dr. Google 15 years ago, there was nothing on triple negative. You're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die fast, right? There was nothing. But now we're going to AI and we're saying, you know, so we go to the doctor with these different kind of questions, different level of questions because we've done some research. Now, is it all right? No. But is it directional? At least it's a conversation starter because we're sort of equipping ourselves for these appointments. But now if we have an app, maybe hopefully you guys will kind of work that up so it comes up in AI when people search. I know you
Well,
gotta like, make it
You're
happen.
right. I was
Yeah,
thinking too, I mean, in the young advocate training, like when you bring people together in person too, I think there's so much power in the conversation that you're
yeah,
having as well, because some people just hear advice from their doctor, advice from their friends, advice from whoever, and they take it at face value, and that's what they believe to be fact, and they don't question it or feel that empowerment. And then,
yeah.
like you were saying, Amara, you find that confidence when you start hearing from people that are in a similar situation, and then you do feel like you can ask a question or step forward because it's not easy. It's really not easy to advocate for yourself in any space.
Yeah. And you need to hear that somebody had the same issue, that somebody
Right.
had the same concern. And
mhm.
and we always say, when our TNBC mantras, no one fights alone. We don't fight this fight alone. And we have to be in it together to really get through it.
Yeah.
And I think, one of the I think issues for Black women too is being able to talk about it and talk about it with confidence and talk about it without a lot of fear. But we learned in the groups that we did recently where that purple cape is heavy and
Hmm.
big and velvet and hot and overbearing. And, are these young women are doing everything for everybody. And to get that cape off of them so they can free themselves to get the healing they need is really, really hard. Really, really hard. We met a couple of women who, they had hormone receptor positive breast cancer and didn't take the tamoxifen, didn't do the whole regimen, came back metastatic. So then you have that whole sort of guilt on top of, did I do this to myself? On top of the purple cape, just underneath the purple cape with it, with all the baggage that goes along with it. But I think it's you have to stand up and let that time be a time to take care of yourself. And I mean, Amara, you didn't have kids at the time, but like you have to almost separate yourself from your life to
Yes.
take care of yourself, right? To get through it.
Yes. What's interesting? I know you said I feel like I was a teacher, high school math teacher at the time, doing all the things. My
You
partner,
had a purple cape. It was your purple cape.
yeah. So my partner doesn't live in my town, so we're in a long distance relationship. None of my family lives in my city. So when I got diagnosed, it was like I remember my doctor saying, "I'm worried about you because you don't have family here." And my coworkers, like, because when you work at a school, people are just, I don't know, schools are just different.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a lot of
Teachers
places.
are different. Teachers are
One of
different.
one of
Yeah,
my
yeah,
coworkers,
yeah.
Jerry,
Yeah.
is like a guardian angel. She was taking me to all my appointments. She was there when they told me I had cancer in both breasts. And I was like, what? I didn't even know that was a thing. Like you could do it two things at once. Like,
Yeah, Mara had hormone receptor positive in one breast and triple negative in the other. No.
And that in and of itself deserves a conversation and a show, actually. We should bring you back and we'll do a show on bilateral breast cancer and
Yes,
how often,
yeah,
how the
yeah.
incidence and so forth. Because people don't know, and a lot of doctors don't think about it either because it's considered rare, just
Right.
like cancer is considered rare. But we see more and more of these things and we need to like normalize it and check for it. And so, but
Right.
so Jerry's your guardian angel.
Yeah, no, so like my community stepped up.
Yeah.
But and my sisters and my sister came up for my first, cancer like sorry, my first chemo session. My older sister came for my when I switched chemo, like the round, and then my younger sister came back at the end. And my partner was here for a little bit. He came for two of them, and he was here when I had my surgery. But I did most of it by myself. And thank God like my people were helping and things like that, but a lot of it was me. And the thing is, you're the one that sits in the chair. Like you sit in the chair and you have to, they access your port and you're the one doing the work. But I think I had to have another Black woman who was a teacher, and she's my Miss Wilma. She's like my breast cancer mom. She is a friend of mine's friend's mom. She was a three-time I think it's three-time cancer survivor, and she told me you can't care about other people's kids more than you care about yourself. And
Ooh, that's a whole word right there.
because I was trying to work through chemo, which was crazy, especially teaching. I teach high school mathematics. It's not an easy situation. And I just was like, I have to take the time off. I was privileged enough to have long-term disability, which I'm still currently on because I keep having these, like I have treatment and different things, so I'm trying to get my last surgery. But it's, I actually resigned from my teaching job because they wanted me to come back, understandably so. But I'm like, I just got to get through this treatment. Like, I just need to get through this surgery. And the thing that you mentioned, Ricky, before is like, I was actually not going to do it. I was like, the whole cape was coming back, and I was like, well, I could work and then I could go back. And I'm like, what am I doing? I don't think that I got cancer because I did something wrong. I was a vegan. I did all the right things. I did everything in
We all
breast.
did all the right things. We
Right.
all did all the right things. But we
But
go there first. We go there first and said, what did I
Yes.
do? What did I eat? What did I do? Yeah.
But I do think my personal feeling is God was trying to slow me down for some reason and to be like, pump the brakes. Something has to change about your life. What, I don't know exactly yet, but I do know stress was a huge component prior to.
Hello.
Yeah, workaholic, overdoing things, everything, not just in my, job, but maybe like my relate, just like trying to figure out all the things. And I'm like, I think this was to slow me down and to say, you need to trust the process.
Yeah.
And I think that Miss Wilma, if she had not told me that, I don't know if I would have done, I don't think that because I could take time off because I had the ability, that's why I had a full pathological response because I was able to sit into my healing, but
Focus on
I
you.
also was willing to
I
do
love
it.
those words. Sit into my healing. I love
Yeah.
those words. I love them. I'm putting those in the text. You have to sit into your healing. But I
Yeah.
do think, you have to stop the music. You have
Yes.
to stop the merry-go-round. But so many young women can't.
That's
And
right.
Right.
you were blessed that you had the insurance, that you had the ability to do that. But we see so many young women who can't stop it because, like Latoya, she got diagnosed on her nursing her third baby. Her kids
Right.
were, like all under 4, 3 girls, and so what are you gonna do? Not feed your kids, right? So that's why we need resources. We need stories. We need for you to be a role model to say it's okay to take off from your job. It's okay to figure something out, figure out a different plan,
Right.
to sit in your healing. I love those words.
I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest thing too is if you don't know right now if you have long-term disability or short-term disability at your job, you need to go find out and make sure you do have that because people are like, "Oh, I'm healthy," until you're not. So,
You're not, and people also think they have health insurance till you don't.
yeah,
And you
exactly.
go to work, you sign the form, you say you got the insurance, and then you get sick and you don't have
I'm
you're
gonna
underinsured.
I'm gonna tell you something. So I moved abroad prior to this job. Like I was living abroad. That's how I met my partner. I'm not gonna get into the whole
How
story.
far abroad? How far abroad? Because the care is very, very different abroad.
I was in the Caribbean, so
Okay.
in Aruba, but
Okay.
so I go there. I had been for like 2 years. I didn't have health care.
Mm-hmm.
I just was living my best life. I'm healthy. Everything's fine. I come back to the States because I was having some financial issues. I actually ended up having to like file for bankruptcy. I was going through like lots of stress before this all happened. I end up getting a position. My friend is a principal at the school that I now work for. She's like, I need a math teacher. You want to come? The numbers were right. I said, okay, fine. I didn't want to teach. I did not want to teach, but it was like, I remember like I was working like a call center job and I'm like, I need a job that I can like, I need money, I need a steady
You need
income that match
stability, yeah.
stability and things that match my skill set, right? Um, so I take the job, don't want the job, but I take it, end up having to stay another year. If I had not taken this job, I would not have had insurance. I would not have been in
Look at God, right?
exactly. Would have been in Rhode Island. I would not have had Dr. Graff as my
Mm-hmm.
oncologist. And I think one of the things about my advocacy too is that I have had a very amazing experience. Everyone should have this experience with with their doctors, with their oncology team. So I think me telling people like Dr. Graff wrote out a whole, like literally a roadmap for my entire experience. And I have been on the same roadmaps that she told me. And now I'm like, oh, people don't have that. And so I'm like, I need my experience to be leveled up too, because people need to know what is possible and what they're asking for is not too much. Like everyone has been amazing. Yeah, do we have, things happen? Yeah, because people are human. But I would say, and I don't feel like a Black woman in the room. I feel like a woman who has breast cancer. And I think
Go
that's
back for 1 second. You said something really profound.
Exactly.
People need to know, say what you said. People
what's
need to know what's possible. What
and
did you say?
I don't remember the last part.
Did you hear what she said, you guys? People, that was so profound. People need to know what's possible
It was what's possible.
and
Something about being like, the expectation is that level of care, right?
Oh yeah,
That
that
is
is
Right.
possible.
possible.
Right.
Yeah.
And that it shouldn't be an anomaly. It shouldn't be a
Right.
that they deserve it. They need to
Oh
know
yeah, that
what's
they
Yeah.
possible
deserve it. Yeah.
and that they deserve it. Those weren't exactly your words, but that was your intent, I think, to say that
Yeah.
yes, you can have this. Yes, you can get the best care. And I think the issue though is that people don't know what the best care is.
Correct.
And they're not being educated. They don't have doctors like Dr. Mo and like Dr. Steph
Yeah.
that don't give them. They have the cookie cutter oncologist that it's probably not a breast oncologist that hasn't discovered Keytruda yet, right? Or whatever. And so how would you know what to ask for? So
And Nikki, they barely know the standard of care, let
right,
alone, the
right.
nuances of care, right? Like, with
Right,
young people, a lot of times it can be in the asterisk. It's not spelled out
right,
explicitly in the guidelines.
right.
And so
Right.
the care that you're getting is sometimes extrapolated from all the other data. And it's like, oh, well, you too. But like, no, what's the data? If you ask an oncologist, what's the data on young people and breast cancer, young women, right? And along specific lines. I don't know one oncologist who could say, yes, in my specialty, we're doing this, this, and this with young women, and it's different from, or we
Right.
researched it and it shouldn't be any different from.
Right. Right. Or we have a support group for young women.
Or
Or
support.
we have a navigator for young women.
Or
we have
survivorship.
or a
Yeah.
survivorship group for young women. They don't, all of those things, and say, or they'll say, you had Miss Wilma, I don't know how old she was, but they're going to send you to Miss Ethel, who's 80.
All the Wilmas are the best, though. I have to say, all the Wilmas are the best. Shout out to Ricky's mom.
I know my mom's name is Wilma. So,
Oh yeah, the Wilmas, they're the best.
the Wilmas are the best. But yeah, but we need those people. We need those hugs. We need those, like, I've been here, done that, got the t-shirt people. And if we can even capsulize a lot of the stuff that we learn from these women into an app, that's even better, Teresa. So I think I'm excited to see what this app looks like, and I'm excited to see, but also it's going to be people like us, people like you, Amar, saying, check out this app. And
yes,
we're going to have to bring it to the community and say,
Right.
here's a tool you can use. And that's why we're here every week, to sort of bring this information to the community. So, everybody can look for it. So as soon as it's ready, let us know so we can broadcast it, Teresa. Because, they're all, the channel, even though we all live in this every day and we talk about it every day, but we get new customers every day.
Today.
Every day. How many women today got that My Chart notice that says, yes, you have breast cancer? And they're probably not going to see their doctor for 2 or 3 weeks, right?
For young women, Ricky, that answer is every 2 minutes.
Every 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes, a young woman is getting that notice, getting told, and probably electronically, not from a person, not from a doctor, not from somebody they love, right? From a stranger, from their email, which is crazy, at 4 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we all have to be here and be present and talk to them and be a resource and be there for them, because it's scary. But yeah, Mo, I didn't realize it's every 2 minutes. So how many women is that today, alone, right? It's really scary. And so I feel like we have this sort of wave, of women coming in and going out and coming in and going out, and it's bad. Somebody's asking me in the chat, Ricky, were you having pain in your stomach? Yes. I'll
And
tell
it
my
brings up a point. I think that we should do a round robin. Ricky, you start,
Yeah.
but talk about listening to your body, right?
listen to your body. Yes. So I had a
women-
pain. Yeah, I had a pain.
Screening.
Yeah, for screening. But no, I was going to talk about my little episode on Saturday. I had a pain in my side, and I went to Google Gemini and said, it said, is the pain in your right lower abdomen, and listen to your stomach. If you can't feel anything gurgling around, then it's probably appendicitis. And I eat ice cream every night. So I was eating my ice cream, whatever, Saturday night, and I'm like, this doesn't really feel so good. And I was with my girlfriend, Sydney, and she's like, you're not eating ice cream. Something is wrong with you if you're not eating ice cream. And so I went to bed, and I actually dreamt in my sleep I had appendicitis. And I kept having this pain. The pain kept waking me up, and I kept running to the bathroom, had diarrhea. So the next one, I was in Detroit at the Lynx convention.
Yeah, because I saw you there.
The next morning I said, I think I better go home. And I literally got an Uber, went to the airport, got on a plane. On the plane, so I was on fire. I got off the plane, dragged my luggage to the car. I don't know how I did that, and drove straight to the ER. But then I sat in the ER for 9 hours before I was seen. 9 hours, count them. I asked 3 different people at 3 different times.
9
are you ignoring me because I'm a Black woman in pain. Like I really felt what so many Black women talk about for the first time. And it was super scary. I was on the floor in pain. And people were in the ER like going there for their doctor's appointments. They were watching the game. They were hanging out. They were like, and I'm on the floor like in excruciating pain, the worst pain I've ever had crying. Worse than mastectomy pain, worse than childbirth. It was horrible.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so then when I finally saw a doctor, it was about to rupture and I had a hole in my appendix and I was in surgery within like 2 hours. So
Wow.
so I'm here and I still have a little stomach pain, but it's nothing like I had. But had I not listened to my body and said, something is wrong,
Mhm.
something would have happened. I mean, I think, and that's when you found a lump, right? Same thing, you find a lump and said, this is not a right thing. And that's why it's so important
Yeah.
to be on our checks every month. It's the first of the month. If you let on the first, what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
So
Think
that's my appendicitis story. But I wouldn't wish it
Good.
on
Can you
anybody.
have ice cream, or is ice cream off the menu now?
Right.
I can have ice cream.
Good.
Good.
Oh, God.
I couldn't really eat solid food till yesterday. So I had surgery at like 1 a.m. Sunday morning.
Jeez.
And once I got to the surgery team, they were great, but it was the triage team in that ER, Anne Arundel Hospital in Annapolis. Do not go there. Luminous Health. Do not
Oh,
go
no.
there. Do
Wow.
not.
Called y'all out. Y'all got to do better.
Do
Whew.
not go there. It is a disgusting, horrible place. But the triage nurses were idiots.
Oh,
Mm.
man. That's tough.
And they
So,
get tone deaf to all the different complaints
yeah,
and issues and people banging on the windows. It's no excuse. But what happens is they become desensitized, and something has to sort of resensitize people to this, and I find it's sort of the same thing with young women. Like we don't see it very often, or we just like, oh, it doesn't fit the mold. It doesn't fit the classic picture of, people think appendicitis in young kids. So who knows what they were
right.
thinking.
I was too old. My blood pressure, I didn't have a fever. That was like, I guess, one of the biggest things. I didn't have a fever and they didn't believe me. At one point, Haley and I left and went to urgent care. And so I had like urinalysis to see if I had a UTI. He's like, you need to go back to that ER and get your appendix scan. So
That's right. Wow.
anyway, so back to breast cancer, but the same thing. Know your body, know you're normal, especially young women. Don't go to the doctor. You were blessed, Tamara, because you weren't dismissed. Your doctor embraced you and gave you care. But so many young women we know go there and they say, you're too young.
Right.
Come back in 6 months or come back when you're 40.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things is I didn't have a PCP. So I was trying to find a woman PCP.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the person that was on my card was accepting patients, but they weren't when I called. Couldn't leave a voicemail. And eventually I was like, okay, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to just get a male doctor. And it was an older guy. He had a voicemail. I left a voice message literally in tears, like, I have a lump. I need someone to call me. They called me back the next day. And they got
Good.
Wow.
That's
and
really good.
yeah,
That's really
and
good. That's
it
really
was
good.
it was amazing.
Yeah, because that is not always the case.
No, it's not. And I think the other thing too, you said about like listening to your body. I think there's two things that I heard you say too or one thing that really made me think about it is that there's an intuitive, like you had a dream about it. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, in the fall before I got diagnosed, I was like really tired. And I'm like, I have a lot of energy, or I did have a lot of energy prior to all this. I used to walk to school. I was just exhausted. Like, I was like, why am I so tired? I was like getting home and wanting to sleep at like 5 o'clock. And I was like, this is really weird. And then eventually I found a lump. And I'm like, oh man. And the left breast cancer had, I think Dr. Graff called it like white blood cell infiltrate or something. Basically, they found white blood cells in the tissue, saying my body was trying to fight it. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's why I was so tired, because my body was like actively trying to fight the cancer. But like, if I had not, a lot of times people push stuff off, especially Black women, because
Don't push it up. Because of that purple cake, we push it off. We take care of everybody
go
else.
to the doctor. Go to the doctor.
Go to the
The
doctor.
point is, because you can't help your family or anyone else if you don't start with yourselves. And I think that's like my biggest lesson through all of this has been, I'm the first priority. I don't have kids yet, and I know that can be challenging when you're a parent, but like, if I don't take care of myself, then I can't really take care of anybody else. And now I'm
Right.
really learning how to take care of myself in a way that I don't think, like, what does it look like to slow down? Dr. Mo talked about at BaddieCon about like wellness and being outside. I've been walking a lot outside at the park. I hadn't been doing it because I had pain and stiffness. And I was like, you know what? If I can just do 15 minutes, and then I was getting ready for my trip with my sister to
Rome,
Europe.
huh?
Yeah. So I've been walking and I was like, oh
All
my
the walking, girl. You gotta,
yeah,
you had to practice.
I had to practice because I just can't, my body is very different than it used to be. I've gained a lot of weight since because of steroids and this and that. But I'm like, you know what? This is an in-between right now. I'm gonna get to a new self and I don't have to be freaking out about all this. But yeah, so like
No, be
there's so
comfortable in your
much,
skin.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much. Yeah,
Be comfortable in your skin. And
exactly.
I hate the words new normal. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
like
have
that.
a concept for that. I don't like those words because
It's like a
we are who we are and we accept where we are and but that's what we want. That's why you have to be a role model to other women who are dealing.
yeah.
So any
Woo.
last words, Teresa? Go to the
I'm sorry.
LB,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Give us
Go to our
give us
website.
your thoughts. Yeah, how can people find you? How
So,
can they follow you? How can they download the app? What when they share this, what do you want them to say?
yeah, so we're the website. It will be flourish.lbbc.org. So again, we're going live on 7/7, so that'll be a lucky
Okay, we'll put
day.
that in the chat. Flourish@lbbc.org.
We'll be sharing way more next week after the holidays, so you'll be able to join and then check out all the spaces, get some chatter going. But my closing thought, I've been thinking about this as you all were talking, and it's not directly related to breast cancer, but it is at the same point. I have two little ones, and we oftentimes, it's middle of the night, early morning, the baby's crying, you're trying to figure it out. And I remember there were times where I'd say to my husband, how did cavemen do this? Like, they figured it out. Why can't we? Why is this so hard? And we ended up looking up a video and it was talking about how, in caveman times, people had on average like 15 people that touched their baby in an hour, right? Like you're supposed to do these things with a community. And it totally applies here, right? So I think that's my closing thought is we don't have to do this alone and we shouldn't. We should lean in on each other.
It takes a
No one
village.
fights alone. Takes a village. No one fights alone. I learned that on safari. The reason why the lions are the king of the jungle is because they take care of their babies.
There you go.
They build a village around their babies. Then they go eat the
Yes.
leopard babies, so the leopard's kids die.
Right.
But the lions take care of their babies in a village, and that's
We have our villages.
every village. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amara, how can people follow you?
Oh man, I'm like, oh wow, this is really happening. So I have Instagram thanks to my LBBC work and all my advocacy. So it's just my name, Amara D as in dog Brown. So Amara D Brown. Um on Instagram. I also have a Substack called Beauty in the Battle. And I write about my experience. And those are basically the two spaces that I can be. You can look me up or follow me. But yeah, those are the big places that I'm usually at.
I love that beauty in the battle. I love that.
Brown, boom, y'all heard it here. We're going to continue this conversation, right? The show ends here, but the conversation continues and the need continues because every 2 minutes, another young woman is diagnosed. So there's a place, your pride, so to speak, right? Your place for you to flourish. And we hope that you tap into it. So like, follow, and share. And join us next time on The Doctor Is In, right? We hope it's relatable, reliable, and real.
Yeah, and we'll be here next week for another episode on young women with YSC. So tune in.
Great.
Yeah, with our friends from YSC. So takes a village. Love you guys.
Thanks so
Bless
much.
you, love. See if we can
Ricky,
make some
feel
hearts.
better. Get some rest.
I'm grounded.
Good.
Yeah, you are grounded.
I'm grounded.
Go lay down.
I'm grounded. I'm grounded. Love you. Bye. Love you, Mo.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
You're okay.
Bye, you guys.